Been drunk on a plane?
Not really, because we're not flying and
We ain't flying.
we're driving Wednesday, so I don't think it's a good idea.
We don't want to promote that on the show. Don't drink and drive. All right. You know what? I was thinking right before the show, we need to do like Grant Cardone style, that before the live shows, instead of having this awesome and beautiful screen that has served us for a lot of episodes, have the ads running. Right? Huh?
You were saying that you did say that.
I said that like a week ago.
17 small town. Weak knees and
You know what? You know my.
door locked in the bathroom. What's it gonna be?
What's happening? What's happening, Wi-Fi?
Well, Wi-Fi is good on my end. Are you on Wi-Fi? On data or data? What is it? How do you pronounce it? Data or data?
Data.
Data.
If we go with our Australian and English people. All right, we finally got it.
I'm good.
There you go.
Good to go. Whew. I'm just saying, if you're listening right now, go to her Facebook profile. Look at that new banner. That's sexy. It's a sexy looking banner.
Sexy looking
And
banner.
while you're at it, make sure you go and subscribe to Content is Profit.
Oh boy. All right, here we go. I don't know what happened. The whole Facebook just changed for me.
I'm ready.
Anyways, welcome guys to Content is Profit. Happy Monday. And
Monday.
we can scream because Katie's not home and she's like, if I'm not home, you can scream.
You know what?
Anyways.
I like today fashion sense. Look at this. We're like matching,
Finally.
but not matching at the same time.
Finally, we ordered these shirts like it's 2 months ago, and Fonzie's finally wearing one.
I wear them all the time. We just haven't matched. Actually, I wasn't even in a podcast last week. Look at that.
I know.
Podcast break.
Luisa carrying the team over here.
How are your shoulders?
3 episodes in a row. Oh, I feel good. Never been better. But if you are just tuning in, go back and check the last 3 episodes. How to 5x your monthly downloads. So good. Masterpiece. I'm going to give myself a pat in the
I
back.
still need to listen to the last one. But on the one that I listened, I'll give you 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, because there's always room for improvement.
Then 9.9 out of 10. I'm just going to put that out. Anyways, enough about us. Today is all about our guest, which we're about to introduce to you. I'm super excited. I've worked with our guest for quite a bit now. And I am so excited that she finally decided to be in this world of podcasting and share her message.
To grace us with her presence.
Yes.
I know.
Yes. All right. Yes. Oh, boy, Fonzie. Okay. You
I'm
good?
ready. Wait, let me get a quick sip of water.
Quick sip of water. I love the intro. Okay, here we go. I got it.
Fun fact. I used to be in the choir at school.
Nobody wants to listen to that story.
We should have like podcasts, like vocal warm-ups.
No, we're going to lose everybody.
Mame mi momu.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's
You ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
We've got some
Hey,
fresh new
I'm
young
Luis.
talent
And this
doing
is
some
Luis.
things that
And
I know
welcome
you
to the
haven't
Content is
experienced
Profit
before.
podcast.
In here, you're going to get the insights, accountability, and drive to create consistently and increase revenue.
You'll hear from top entrepreneurs, creators, and anything and everything you need to know about content. All this while having a damn good time, baby.
The goal of this podcast is simple: to entertain, educate, and turn your content into profit.
That is right. Welcome back, Fonzie. After
Appreciate
3
it.
episodes, I'm glad you're alive.
That sounds way longer than it actually is. It was just a week.
3
You're like-
for some people, that can be a month. You know,
I know, but
By the way-
somebody that's tuning in, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, 3 episodes! We record 3 episodes in a week."
well, that is a week. Yeah. Anyways, Fonzie, what are we talking about today? Tell me.
Guys, today I'm very excited about today's guest.
I am too.
It's something that I've dealt with internally for a while, but we're gonna be, trying to find, extract, and implement your genius. So
Ooh.
you better grab pen and paper because you're gonna be writing a lot. Unintended. You're gonna see why. But you better be taking notes today.
Yes. If you are listening and you're enjoying this show, please go ahead and hit the follow button on your favorite podcasting platform. It does help the show. It helps our guests. It helps you because it reminds you every single Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, as long as FONZI hits the publish button. That this content is coming out to you, and you can get momentum in your life, in your business, in everything.
That is right. Not just hit it, smash it. Smash it with everything you got, guys. And if today's guests help you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review.
That's right. So I hope you're ready to buckle up because we're together again and we have greatness in today's podcast.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever wondered who these ghostwriters are? The real magicians behind some of your favorite books.
Well, today's guest is one of those ghostly writers. She has written for legends like Russell Brunson, Amanda Holmes, Alex Sharfin, and maybe even you. Who knows? After all, she is a ghost.
Please welcome the one and only Julie Eason.
I was even thrown out by that intro. Okay, like I got all crazy things in here in the control.
The ghostly, I feel like I need to put makeup on or maybe a sheet over my head or something.
No. We need to show your greatness, Julie.
That's right.
We need to show your greatness.
You're stepping out from the ghostly world into, the real physical world over here.
Yeah, Julie, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We've interacted for quite a bit now, and I'm super excited to have this conversation. We're working a couple projects together, and I cannot wait to deep dive into content and writing and all these amazing things that you do so well.
Oh, I love it. So it's really funny because people think that I'm only a writer, or I only write, and really it comes when they talk to me, it's like, oh my God, no, wait, we're talking strategy, we're talking frameworks, we're talking about how to beat procrastination and overwhelm and imposter syndrome. Like there's so many different things we can talk about. So I can't wait to dive in and hear what you guys are curious about.
It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm just going to throw this out there before we start diving into questions. So, the listener right now is going to be like, why should I listen today? And I just want you to brag for a little bit, like 1 minute. Please share with people which kind of books have you written? Because if they go to your website, they're going to be like, wow, I cannot believe this thing.
Is that what you're saying?
Brag away. Brag away.
So the books that you're probably most familiar with in this particular audience is Expert Secrets and .com Secrets. And we wrote those books. I wrote those books as a ghostwriter for Russell Brunson. And I have all if you really are curious about the behind the scenes and all the crazy stuff that goes on, there's a whole interview on my website about. We were jamming back and forth about it. I've written books I helped Amanda Holmes. She's coming out with the second edition of the Ultimate Sales Machine.
Yes.
Changing and amazing. I mean, it was already one of the top 10 most recommended sales books of all time. And now it's going to be like the top 1 most recommended sales and marketing books of all time, because it's what we did to that book was amazing. So some other books you might recognize, Entrepreneurial Personality Type, EPT, from Alex Sharfin.
Wow.
And my own book, The Profitable Business Author, which I love. It gives you all the behind the scenes, how you actually do it step by step. How do you create a book that inspires, educates, and sells, so that it's not just, there's almost 2 million now books published every year, because you can just up it. Right.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's great that everybody can publish now, but everybody can publish now. And it's like, there's a lot of bad stuff getting published.
Yeah.
And I have so many people come to me and they're always saying, oh my God, I wrote a book, but it's really bad and I don't tell anybody about it. So we fix that.
Wow. Julie, I'm just going to say this. You just rewrote a core memory that I had in my brain, right? One of the very first business books that I read was .com Secrets. Actually, that was the book literally that kind of drove me into this whole online marketing world. I was like, whoa, this is so exciting. It was such a well-written book. I'm not kidding. When I was reading this, my thought process was wow, anybody can do this. It's so easily laid out in here. Anybody
not anybody can
thing.
write a good book. Anybody can do business, right? Is that what you mean?
I think the combination between the writing, obviously, with the knowledge that you extracted from Russell, right, to put all that together in there was laid out the perfect way. But my core memory was that at that time, I was working for this company called Happy Feet. We were coaching soccer little kids. And I remember I was waiting to go into one of the schools to coach. And I was sitting in Panda Express reading the book. And I was like, man, like that was the day that I was like, this makes so much sense. And this orange chicken is so freaking good.
Yeah.
But I am motivated right now. I need to, build my funnel, all this stuff, that he talks in Welcome Secret. So now you rewrote the core memory. Instead of thinking about Russell, I'm going to be thinking about you, Julie.
Oh, thank you. I think about Russell too. He's an amazing human being. And it's really funny because when you say it was so clear, so there's an old saying in writing that says, damn easy writing is damn hard writing. Like it's easy reading is hard writing. And that really is true because people I mean, even Russell came to me and said, "Oh, I have a webinar. We're just going to transcribe it and we'll tweak it a little bit and we'll put it out there." Because he was in a rush like everybody else. I mean, people just really they want their book, they want it done, they want it out there. They have no idea how long it takes. They have no idea how good it could really be because they've got so much genius inside them. But they don't know the frameworks and the structures and the ways to pull it out and lay it out on paper so that the genius actually shines. And the reason that those particular books have been so successful for ClickFunnels is because you actually get some freaking results, right? Like you actually can build an amazing business off of 1, 2, or even all 3 of those books. And they're the real deal. They're not just, a webinar that's been transcribed and uploaded to Amazon.
Yeah.
Julie, what set you on the path of writing and producing content in that very specific way, right? Like for us, we have a very unique story on how we started podcasting, and there's a reason we do podcasting. It's like the one form of content that we are actually consistent, right? Like
we like to talk a lot. That's it.
And we're obviously a big fan of this platform, right? And obviously the book ideas come, we have frameworks around it, and we're like, okay, what now? Maybe we have some material that we can write something up. But like, I'm very curious, like in your journey, like how did you start? Was it by accident? Was it were you very passionate about that medium?
No, I mean, I love books. I've been a reader my whole life, and I used to write stories for people for birthday presents and things because I didn't have any money. So it's like, oh, I'll write you a story, and they love that. But no, I was pregnant and wanted to stay home with my kids. And I was like, well, what can I do? And I was reading magazine articles and going, well, shoot, I can write better than that. And so I sort of fell into journalism, and then 9/11 happened and that entire industry collapsed because all the newspapers and magazines were trying to go online, but they didn't know how to monetize because the word monetize wasn't even a thing then. This is in the 90s. And so I figured out copywriting, and I figured people pay me great money to write sales copy and things like that. That was fun. And then, the internet started exploding, and websites and webinars and all the fun things that we do. My clients would send me to these digital, it wasn't even called digital marketing then. It wasn't even called anything. It was digital marketing conferences. And I'm sitting in the audience with people like Frank Kern and Ali Brown and people who are like old school, like they're the top of their game. And I'm like, this is a million years ago. But my clients would send me to the conferences, so I learned and learned and learned. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is just to learn new stuff. And that's the best part of ghostwriting, is that you get to learn all the cool stuff for free because you have to learn it in order to write about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then all my clients were like, "Can you write a book?" And I'm like, sure, I can write a book, and I have to figure out how, but I did. I had written a book. It took me 16 years to write my first book. Second book, I had to write in a week. Because I was for a locksmith and a security expert, and it was right after the Sandy Hook school shooting. And so like he had a big national radio interview coming up, and he's like, I need a book to give to people. And so I was like, sure, we'll figure it out. And that's where I figured out the process for writing a book quickly and efficiently and actually getting out the information that needs to be out there. So really it was just, I fell into it because my clients needed it. And then I started publishing because they were screwing up the book publishing process. I was like, oh my God, we wrote this amazing book, and look at that cover, and look at, oh my God, what are you doing? So I learned how to publish as well.
Wow. How much caffeine do you had in that week?
The whole thing was written at Starbucks, so I could not even begin to tell you. I had to get out of the house. I had to write while the kids were in school. Fortunately, all 3 kids were in school at that time. And so I just had a few hours every day, and I just wrote my brains out. But the secret was in learning how to develop a question-based outline, which is what I teach in the Profitable Business Author. It's the most brilliant way to get ideas out of your head and to make sure that you can make progress on the book, even if you don't feel like it, even if you're procrastinating, even if you only have 10 minutes sitting in the car waiting for your kid to get out of soccer practice, you can still make progress when you use this question-based outline format.
Yeah. Can we dive a little bit into that? Because
Hold
I
on.
think this could be one second.
No. Choke the mic, Fonzie. Come on.
No. Okay, we can put a tab in it, but I think this could be so beneficial for anybody, regardless you're gonna write a book or you're gonna create any sort of content. Just because coming up with the ideas and the frameworks, how you're gonna deliver those ideas is key. I truly believe that is like 80% of the work, because a lot of people are stopped. They don't produce anything because they just think, what am I going to say? Right. Once they have that, what am I going to say? And they know exactly what they're going to say, then they just need the how they're going to say it. And then at the end, take the action of actually creating the piece of content. So
I want to go there, but hold on, because
we're about to bring out the boxing gloves over here.
I just want to put some boxing gloves on.
What's happening? I mean, clearly he was absent for 3 episodes, and now he thinks he owns the mic. I mean, what can we do? No, Julie, I mean, yes, absolutely. I want to go there, right? Part of the follow-up question was that, but I really want to highlight something here where you mentioned just like that, like my first book was 15 years and the next one a week. And I think like it's so important. Like one of the big elements, right, is you got a deadline. This guy came to you and be like, I need this like in a week. And I remember one of the initial like business lessons that I ever consumed in a conference was like, you got to put a date in your calendar and then allow that date to like pull you forward, right? Because and that to me resonated so much because I was having such a hard time at the moment to execute what I was executing at the time. And it was very similar with the podcast. We're actually doing our first episode in like tomorrow, right? And we have no time to like procrastinate and figure this thing out. It's like, how are we actually going to publish it? And we recorded the first 20 episodes. And as we were going, we decided to do this process that evolved into the business and what we do today. So I think that lesson alone is so massive for a lot of people, right? When it comes to like creating something, we're helping 2 people right now on the back end of like their shows. This amazing, brilliant businesswoman, right? In the real estate. And she's like, I have this message. I want to get out. How long have you tried to get this out? 2 years. We're like, what?
Years.
2 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, well, you know what? Why don't you record like this thing? And she sent like a pilot episode about 15 minutes. And we uploaded everything. We're like, congrats, you have a podcast. And that's it, right? And we're like, okay, and now, the next one. And then we put things in your calendar. So if you're listening right now, please take that, right? If you're been struggling with producing content, putting something out there, right? Make sure that you put that date in the calendar. Tell as many people as possible. We did. We're like, hey, we don't care about some of that stuff, but putting that thing in front of you so he can pull you forward is so important. Now,
can I put a caveat on that real quick?
Yes.
So according to neuroscience, I'm a big Myers-Briggs geek, really, because I wrote a book for somebody who is an expert in Myers-Briggs. And so for people who are, and if you don't know what Myers-Briggs is, it's a personality type profile. It's like the ENTPs and the IFJPs and those kinds of 4 letters. So if you don't know what it is, you can go look it up. But if you do know what it is and you know which one you are, there's a very fine distinction between a feeling type a judgment type and a perception type, which is the J's and the P's, which is the last letter. And it's really interesting because there are certain personality types who have to have a deadline. Those are the P's. That was me, right? I have to have a deadline, and that deadline has to have consequences. And I can set that deadline to be 2 weeks out, 2 months out, 2 years out, or 2 minutes out, and I will always meet that deadline no matter what it is. But I have to have one, and it has to have actual consequences attached to it. So whenever I have a client, I'm always going to get my client work done. I'm not necessarily always going to get my own work done unless I have that deadline in place. So that's one personality type. But the other one, the J's, the judgment, my daughter is this. Those are the people who love to-do lists. They love checklists. They love crossing things. They will make a to-do list, and the top thing is make a to-do list so that they can cross it off because they feel like they're in momentum. They feel like they're gaining they're gaining traction and they feel good. They get dopamine and serotonin hits when they cross something off their list. So if you are a list maker, the deadline might be fine, but having a list is actually going to pull you forward more than the deadline. So just knowing your personality type, and I teach this in learning your natural writing styles, because there's different ways that introverts and extroverts should be writing. And that's just knowing that. It's like, oh, I could give a crap about, calendars and checklists and things like that, but if I don't have a deadline, I'm never going to do the thing.
Yeah. Is there like a third hidden type in there? Because I tried both and I'm like, man, I don't, sometimes
If either
one
doesn't
work.
work, yeah. So if either one doesn't work, then there's something else in the way. And that's, I call them the 5 author freakouts, but there's very specific things that cause procrastination, overwhelm, self-doubt, all the imposter syndrome, all of those kinds of things. That's my most recent book, and it's all internal. It's like what's in your own way. It's all subconscious. It's like you have one foot, your brain is on the gas, right? It wants to go, but you can't make yourself do it. That means your subconscious has its foot on the brake, and your subconscious always wins. Always.
So you're saying I need to go to Peru on an ayahuasca trip? Is that what you're saying? Is that what I need to do?
I mean, you can if you want to, but there's a lot easier ways to do it. And less toxic.
I think a very easy way is to. Yeah, I think a very easy way is to read Julie's book. Just gonna put that on there. By the way, we're gonna leave the links right below, so all you gotta do is scroll down and click on that and go get it. Go get it. Julie, it was funny because we were actually talking about this morning, and we're like, Fonzie, like all you talk about is travel. Why don't you just go travel? Like just go.
Why can't you?
We don't want you in the house anymore.
Gotta spread my wings.
Yeah. And so why do you think that is?
I don't know, because I want to get away from my brother. No, I'm kidding.
No. Not why do you want to travel? Why do you think you aren't? Like, why are you not doing it?
Man, that's you see that's a very internal conversation I've been having. Actually, all right, fun fact. We had the awesome Katie Richardson here on the podcast a while back. And yeah, she's amazing. And she was kind enough to give us a kind of like a coaching call after. She's like, I really like you guys. I'm gonna, jump on a call with you individually. So when I talked to her, I share all my deepest and darkest problems. And she was like, this is what I'm seeing. Now, this is very personal right now, but she's like, I see a man that is living in comfort, right? Yep. And I'm obviously not explaining the context of my problems, but she was like, I see a man that is living in comfort. And I was like, ooh, okay, well, understand. Thank you. And then I've had more people randomly, close to me share that as well. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I'm clearly in my comfort zone and I'm like stuck in here. So seems like I am in a way somewhat afraid of stepping out of that comfort zone.
And it's not necessarily fear. It's your ego. It's your conscious mind and your subconscious mind they're fighting, right? You want to go, but your subconscious doesn't want you to go because you're safe right now. Its only job is to keep you safe. And right now, even if you're not meeting your goals, you're safe. You're alive, you're breathing, you have a roof over your head, your basic needs are met, and that's where it wants to stay. And so the way that you get out of that conundrum is to literally talk to yourself. You can do it through meditation. You can do it through journaling. I love writing in my journal with 2 different color pens, and I literally have conversations back and forth over. I will sometimes fight. It's like, what gives? Why do you not want this to happen? Maybe and it always comes down to identity, right? So it's if you identify as somebody who's hardworking, who loves what they do, and who gets results for people, and then all of a sudden you're traveling, if that breaks with your identity, you're always going to stick with who you think you are. I'm the hardworking guy that's always in the office at 8 a.m. I'm not the guy who travels and gets around to posting the podcast whenever I get around to it. So therefore, you're not going to allow yourself to get out of your comfort zone because you're not going to allow yourself to break with what you know is who you are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I know you were just sharing an example, but I don't think they are, you could be the guy that delivers and do all the work while traveling as well. I feel like,
you totally can, but you have to talk to your subconscious and tell it that. and say, so
Yeah.
what about this? And, be nice to it. Don't be mean, because that just makes
Oh.
it dig in harder. But, ask it questions and say, can you get on board with this? Can you get on board with me taking, a 2-week trip, but we'll work on the trip. Would that be okay? And you just have to get it to say yes.
Yeah,
And
I was
then
about to say I'm gonna backhand slap it like we are going. Okay.
it never works. That's willpower. That's when you're trying to enforce willpower.
Yeah.
This goes with any content. This goes with any monetization of content. So a lot of people, I'm a creator. I love writing. I love creating websites, and I can create, a Shopify store all day long. But when it comes to actually talking about it and getting it out there and doing the marketing and being vulnerable to trolls and all of that, that is really hard for me. And so it's the same deal. Like you have to get both parts of you on board, no matter what it is that you're trying to do, no matter what it is that where there's resistance holding you back, because you're really the boss if you understand that you have to get that. And it's a little child. Talk to it like it's 5 years old,
Yeah.
and you just, come on, let's go do this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I love this. I think this like through our example, right? And Fonzi's example. Thank you, Fonzi, for sharing that, man. Like,
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think it's helping a lot of people, right? Because whether that's getting work done or publishing in the context of the podcast or launching something, right? I think we all face those fears and monsters, and it's these are amazing frameworks and tools that we can execute today, and it's gonna help you move things forward. So thank you, Julie, for sharing that.
Should we go back to where we left the tab and people hanging?
Yes,
about the question-based outline.
Question-based outline. Here we go. Go,
All
Julie.
right.
Go.
So, a question-based outline. Your brain. If you can't tell by now, I'm a total neuroscience geek, and I love hacking the brain, because when I was a copywriter, that's all I wanted to do was figure out how I could write the exact words that would make people buy stuff. And it was like a challenge, and I loved it. And then learning all of the nuances and the little knobs that you can twiddle with to make things more effective or faster or whatever you want, more persuasive, was really fun for me. So when I figured out I had to write this book in a week, I was like, all right, how can I not ever get stuck? And then I realized, oh, well, the answer to not ever getting stuck is the question. So the answer is always in the question, right? The questions trigger your brain to automatically search for an answer. If I go, Luis, what does content for profit mean? You're going to rattle it off. You're not going to have any trouble telling me what it means, right? You're going to be able, you could go on for 3 hours or 500 pages in a book of what it means and how you do it and all of those things. So when you look at an outline the way we were taught to write in school, God help all the English teachers. Like I love English people, but English teachers, but my God, they really screw us up, because they're focused on teaching one method that's going to get you to pass a test, which is great in school, but it's not helpful at all when you're trying to put out content of any kind. What's really helpful, especially in this 24/7 cycle that we have to put it out, and it has to be continuous, and it has to be fresh, and it has to be interesting.
Yeah.
The only way that you're going to get to where you're not going to stare at a blank page and freeze up is if you're looking at a question. And you can turn anything into a question, like anything, right? You can take content for profit, or content is profit, and just leave it as a bullet point and an outline. And you're like, oh God, where do I start? Okay, well, we could start with, what if you start with, what is content? What is profit? How does content relate into profit? And how can I get content out more often? And you see how you can just ask question after question after question after question.
Yeah.
And you never run out of questions. There's only 6 interrogative words, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how. And you're gonna start with those words and then finish with whatever it is that you're trying to get across. So how does content translate into profit? Who should be writing your content? Who should be making sure that there's profit? When should you be profiting on your content? Should it be right away, or should you wait a little while? Like you just use those who, what, when, where, why, how, and you start with those words and you end with question mark, and then you can fill it in with anything.
So good.
And so when you create a question-based outline, I start with higher level topics. So with a book, you want 10 to 20 high level topics. And I mean, we reverse engineer books when I do mostly book development now. So we're helping, business people just do the beginning part. I don't do the ghostwriting anymore, but what we start with the end in mind. Where are we trying to get people to go? What's their point A? What's their point B, especially with their mindset and their belief systems? And then we go with the high level topics. So let's say I use the example that I have in my book about a dog spa, right? Somebody who wants to start a dog grooming business. And I this is such a funny story because I don't have a dog. I've never been to a dog groomer. I have no idea about anything related to this topic whatsoever. But I created an outline in the book that I had people emailing me going, where do I get that book about the dog grooming? Because like my cousin really wants to
That's
start a business. And
funny.
I'm like, it doesn't exist. I made it up. And I even say in the book, I made this up. This isn't real. But I had like 5 or 10 people were like, how do I get that book? And the
Yeah.
way we did it was we went high level topics like education and business licensing and location and marketing and all the big topics, right? And then so under marketing, say that's the chapter, then we go into, okay, how much marketing do we need? Do we need local marketing or do we need digital marketing? Where do we get it? How much money should we spend on it? And it's just, you just fill in all the questions underneath the high level topics. And once you do that, you have a heck of an amazing outline that you can make progress on in 10 minutes at a time. Because if you're going to take more than 10 minutes to answer a question, you probably need to break that question down, or you need to do some research because you don't really know what you're talking about. If you go, you can't fill 10 minutes, then maybe you need to expand it. Maybe you don't, but like, it's a good space. You also don't have to write in order. A lot of people start at page 1 and they get stuck because they don't know what they want to say in the introduction. I always write introductions last. Right. Because there's a very specific format for an introduction, and it's pretty much the same for every business book. So but when you have a question-based outline that's laid out in this particular way, you can do whatever lights your button that day, right? Like you can start in chapter 7, question 2, or you can start in chapter 2, question 7. It doesn't matter. You can bounce around. Now that doesn't mean that that's the entire book. You still want to insert stories. You want to insert structure and flow and all of that. But if you're just creating a piece of content, I don't want to say just a piece of content because it's all content, right?
Yeah.
But if you're creating a shorter piece of content, whether it's a video or something that you're writing up for a blog post or whatever, if you can have a high level topic and 3 major questions, and you can talk about those 3 questions in depth, you've got a really great blog post.
Absolutely. I think this was absolute fire. Standing ovation.
Studio clap,
And audience clap
and
right here.
Audience clap. Yeah.
Julie, this is very similar in a way to what we do with some of our clients when we help them record content. And for me personally, it was more about applying some of the copywriting principles that I've learned into creating content. So what I did was pretty much, okay, let's define what are their main, pillar content that they're trying to create. And then I use the same questions, right? The what, why, how. But I love how you structure, how you have those big pillars, and then it takes away that friction of, I have to write everything in order, which, like you said, that's how we learn in school, sadly. But I like your process too, because in a way, it mirrors that sense of removing the friction, which we talk about a lot inside of the podcast, right? That is what happened to us when we first started podcasting. We had a podcast called Brews and Bros, and it didn't go anywhere because it had so much friction, right? We had different cameras, bunch of audio, whatever. It was a mess. And it didn't go anywhere because it was just so much friction. Now, when we decided to start Content is Profit, the first thing we said was, okay, how can we remove the friction? Well, we're just going to go live. And if we mess it up, guess what? We deal with it. We build character. And that's what happened, right? We started staying consistent. And that's what I see here in your approach. You have a very specific framework that helps minimize the friction. And then literally what's left for people is just to grab the pen and write, or their fingers and type in the computer, whatever they decide.
Yeah,
or their voice, exactly.
I mean, it depends on it, and I'm not. So there's introverts want to write because they have to think, they process ideas in their heads. Extroverts process ideas out loud. So people who are, and most entrepreneurs, are extroverts. So they're used to just jamming and talking, and that's the way that they do it. But that's not going to create a readable product. So one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs especially are making when they're writing these books, and they're booking the weekend and booking a box and all these things that are out there right now, is that they're taught that all they have to do is jam on a microphone and take the transcript and publish it to Amazon. And I've had some really big, I mean, like really recognizable names do that, and their books are horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know that they cared. I think they were just putting it out there. I mean, to the point where they actually had the transcription timestamps still in there. It was like, what is this? And yet I still couldn't throw the book away because it was a book, and you don't throw books away, right? Like, so there's that little bit of subconscious, like, books are super valuable, and that's why they have such a higher perceived value than any other kind of content, really. But you've got to be able to get the content out. And then if either you or a professional editor, or somebody who knows how to turn, spoken words into readable written format, that's what you want to publish, not the transcripts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna say another similarity. I feel like I'm just like promoting or service right here, but like
we're both promoting. I mean, why not?
I mean, but at the same time, like that's what we do with our clients when we gotta write the captions, right?
Yep.
Is cool. Let's transcribe what they're saying, and now through some copywriting principles, we add structure to it, right? We change certain things, we move them around, and now it makes sense to the reader as well, instead of just copy pasting the transcript right there. And I think that's a very important point too that you made about the book, being kind of like the higher level of pieces of content. I don't know how I feel about marketers or people that do that they just like, oh, let me just transcribe this, publish it as a book, and just put it out there for the sake of I wrote a book, right?
Yeah. Oh, and it's a bestseller because you can be a bestseller selling 2 books on Amazon.
Exactly.
And then they sell it for 1 cent, right?
Yeah. Can we demystify that bestseller thing, because it's something that comes up all the time, right?
All
and it's
the time.
and this has created like a very negative point of view. Like personally, and like I see a lot of this happening because we're in the space, right? And they're like, hey, top seller, top 1%, blah blah blah, all this like leverage, right? For that, maybe for the outside audience is they cannot see it. But can we talk a little bit about that process, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to serve our audience, we want to serve the best way possible, right? So they might be consuming some information that when they get their hands into it, they still have timestamps on it. So can we, like, what are some triggers, what are some things that we might be looking for, like for consumption, right? Like if we want to learn from somebody, right? Or I want to make sure that I'm gathering the information, the good information that's going to help me move things forward, right? Not set me back because I cannot finish the book, right? What are some indicators that people can be looking for in a great book, in a great author? Like, what are some things that we should be aware?
So I'm a little confused. You want me to talk about what they should be looking for in terms of someone to help them, or what they should be looking for in terms of a book that they're reading or one that they're writing?
Yeah. So we can tackle all 3, but the first, like as a consumer, right? Like how do we
how do you distinguish between the books that you want to really pay attention or the ones you should burn?
Yeah, that.
So
Well put, Fonzie.
The ones that you want to pay attention to are the ones that are crazy easy to read, that make sense, and that inspire and educate you. So I always have inspire, educate, sell is my favorite framework that I've come up with, because like when you were sitting down at Panda Express and you were so excited about reading .com secrets because you were inspired to believe that you could do what it was that they were teaching. You believed you could do it. So you have to inspire. You inspire by telling stories. Then you have to educate them. And in order to educate them, that's so that they know how to do it. Like, I believe I can do it, but I don't know how. So I'm going to go to your competitor because they are teaching me, right? So you have to also educate inside that book. And education makes sure that you know how to do whatever it is that you're promising. And it can be a short book. It can be a super long book. It doesn't matter. the length doesn't matter. What matters is that the information is conveyed in a way that's easy to understand, easy to remember, and easy to pass along. Because a book is passed along 9 times, a good book, before it dies. So you
Wow.
might sell 100 copies, but you've reached a potential 900, people who
Wow.
might hire your services. And then you have to sell, because it doesn't matter if they believe they can do it. It doesn't matter if they know how to do it. They're not going to do it unless they have resources and support and help and accountability and all the other things that go along with, with learning how to do something new, or transforming their life, or, I always say you can write a book about any business. So it could be, making sure you hire my company over somebody else's company, whatever it is. You got to inspire, educate, and sell. And the selling does not have to be a sales letter. This is another huge mistake that entrepreneurs make, is they take their sales letter and they publish them as books. Sales letter is not a book. And, you can sell in your book, and there's lots of great ways to do it. One of my favorite ways is to put your free offer in the first 3 pages of the book, because when they're on Amazon, they're always going to look at that look inside feature. And if even if they don't buy the book, they're going to see that offer, and they may go to your website and download it anyway.
Wow.
Right. So good. So there's also the back of the book, you can put as much advertising in it as you want. If you look at any fiction book, those publishers have 15 other books in there they're advertising, and it's straight up ads. You can put anything in there you want, but if you keep the content from chapter 1 to the end is 100% educational, inspirational, there's frameworks, there's stories, all of those things are in there. Maybe you mention it here and there that you have a service or that you have a software, but you're not selling it in the main content. You've got plenty of opportunities elsewhere to sell it.
Yeah. That's very powerful. Inspire, educate, and sell. As you were talking about that, I was looking back to certain books, and there's some books that I'm like halfway through, and I'm like, I already got the main point. They're just, repeating this same thing over and over again. I'm not inspired at all. I don't see myself, right? The hero's journey. I don't see myself, which is something you guys did great in Russell's book. You literally see yourself, I don't know, shooting a potato gun and selling things on a funnel.
Looking for the components in Home Depot.
Exactly. It's very powerful. And I'm looking back to certain books and I'm like, whoa, this book was so good. And it's because I see myself in there and I get inspired first, and then I learn.
So you inspire with stories and you educate with frameworks. So if you have both of those things, you're golden. Mm-hmm. So, and the other thing, and I've totally lost my train of thought, but it's going to come back to me, about the way that I've completely lost it. So go on to another question. It's okay.
No worries. I know
it was going to be so good, and it'll come back.
It was going to be so good.
I know you lost it, because when you said you inspire with stories and you educate with frameworks, my brother and I went like, whoop, okay, time to take some notes. Like that was so good. Yeah, we had to write it down. You lost your train of thought too?
No, I'm just in awe, right? Because so I'm a frameworks fan, right? Like I love it, right? And when I made the transition, it was when it was easy to duplicate time after time, right? A lot of the things that I do on a daily basis here with BIZBROS or with the other projects that we handle, in the past would take massive mental capacity, and I was like not looking forward to new things because I thought I had to figure out again, right? Or figure out a new way. And that was the case with content for us specifically, right? It was like, oh man, do we have to do this video again? And kind of like the writing from the beginning to from the very beginning, or writing the intro first and then the rest. And then it's a lot of friction. So when we decided to be like, okay, let's change things up, right? For us, it meant going live every single day, and it's gonna have no structure whatsoever as far as the full strategy. The goal is to just put it out there, right? And to me personally, the framework that helped me a ton was, I'm gonna share a story of something that happened today or something that I learned today, and then I'm gonna apply how does this apply to the business that we're currently doing. Mm-hmm. The second I decided to follow that every single day, the friction was lifted, right? Yes. And we were able to, the first time we did not finish the 45 live, but it was a happy ending because of a happy ending. But then when we did it again, we finished the 45 days completely of live. And a lot of people see this as a very heavy lift in their publishing thing, right? So for me, I was like, wow, this is the power of a framework. This is a structure that I can follow. And then immediately after, that's how we developed our M2M. How do we produce the content after the podcast is done? And it's all these things, and you can scale it and you can do these things. So this is why what you're sharing today, I mean, all my jaw continues to drop every single time, is because I'm seeing myself do this, right? Because I've had enough experience creating a different type of content, but still content, that I can see like how these can be so challenging. And don't get me wrong, in my head, I'm like, there's like 7 books that need to be written, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
from personal stories to like frameworks and what we do as a business. And, you know, I don't know when the right moment is going to be, but this is awesome because now I can see myself be like, okay, this is a road that we can go and explore. And I think that the first step for a lot of people is of what we share in here, like stories and framework. Like if you can see
Stories and
yourself
frameworks.
in that story, that's like more than half the battle won, and then you can go out and execute.
Right. And so we use what's called book blocks to create the chapter structures. And literally all that is I have kept a list over the years, and I've been doing this 10, 15 years now. And I kept a list of all of the elements that go into a book chapter. And sometimes there's, you know, the little quote at the top. Sometimes there's a story. Sometimes there's a framework. Sometimes there's a case study. Sometimes there's bullet points. Sometimes there's a picture or something. I mean, there's like 50 of them, right? 50 different blocks. And all you have to do and this is another dopamine thing, okay? If people can read through a book and read through 1 or 2 chapters, and then they know what's coming up next because it's a repeatable system, they get a reward because they figured it out. The reason that murder mysteries and mystery things in general are so popular on TV is because they're following along, but they're given just enough clues that they're figuring things out on their own. And when they figure it out on their own, they love it. They just get a cascade of dopamine, and they feel so good. And so the way that you get people to read through a longer piece of content is to have a repeatable structure throughout the chapters. So if you think about any of the books Russell writes, there's always every chapter starts with a stick figure drawing. And then, you know, he's going to tell a story, and he's going to leave an open loop. He's going to tell a personal story. Then he's going to teach whatever it is that he wants to teach using a framework. Then he's going to go ahead and say, well, you know, of course, you're going to think that I can do it because I'm Superman. So here's somebody else. Here's a case study of somebody else who did it this way and had success. Maybe there's some exercises, but probably not. He's not big on exercises. And then you're going to close out that open loop story and do a chapter preview into the next one. And every single chapter has that same structure. And so after the first couple of, you tell me, Fonzie, when you read those stick figure drawings, you had no idea what they were the first time you saw them, right? You had no idea what it meant.
I
And
was
then
like,
by the end of the chapter,
cool.
you knew exactly what it meant. And not only did you know exactly what it meant, you could just look at the picture from then on out.
He became the stick figure. He became the stick figure.
Everybody comes to me and says, what stick figure draw? I'm like, come on, you can come up with your own style. You don't have to have it be just like that. But the genius of that is that if you look at any book that you really get into, any nonfiction book, this isn't the same with fiction, but with a nonfiction book, if you really are into it and you're really enjoying it and you're really consuming the information and it's embedding in your brain, pay attention to, are they doing the same components? Is there a story, a teaching, and then a summary maybe? Is there story, teaching, summary, story, teaching, summary, story, teaching, summary? You know that repetition it's comforting. It's like, I know that I'm going to understand this by the end of the chapter. I know that I'm going to want to read the next chapter because they're going to give me a hook, right? And so that is exactly what you're talking about with your podcast. Being able to remove the friction and to get the same format all the time. You can do that chapter by chapter. And that's one of the first things we do in a book development is we figure out, okay, what is it that you want? And I strongly steer people away from those quotes at the beginning because they're so overused. But a lot of people, they say, I want to have a quote at the beginning of every chapter. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe how about if we use your quotes at the beginning of the chapter instead of some other famous person, right?
Yeah.
So using the repetition is a really powerful way to keep people reading. A lot of people think, oh, I have to have it. It has to be different in every chapter. It's like, no, you have to have the same basic pieces so that there's a foundation that keeps people reading all the way through to the end.
My geekiness is going through the roof right now because here's how I think. I think in Lego pieces, right? I think in like these like puzzle pieces that you can just put together. So like our content process is about 7 pieces, and like how I've been able to explain it to people, and like whenever we started developing with the team, It's
I thought you were gonna say to muggles.
okay, Harry
To
Potter.
remember.
It has been it
Oh,
has been through these images, right? And I'm so excited because now we have like those pieces to write the
Mhm.
book. And we're definitely gonna give you a call, Julie. By the way, I think Julie, she did tell us like before the interview happened that the power in her house was gonna completely like disappear.
that it might
So,
go off.
so
Yeah.
I think it just disappeared. But just to quick recap, I love this, man. The chapter blocks I think is so awesome. I
Mhm.
want to encourage everybody to go and look into
Oh!
Russell's short story. Russell, yeah, Julie, we're here. Okay, Julie came back. We're talking about like
We're recapping your greatness.
your greatness, but
Oh, excellent. That must mean I did a really good job because you could
it
remember
was so good. Yeah, I was telling everybody how I think in those like puzzle pieces, right? And then how that really allows to repeat and be consistent, right? People
Yeah.
when we say, hey, we have more than 300 episodes in the show, that always people drop their jaws like, what? And
Yeah.
we're like, well, there's a reason why we've been able to produce so many episodes and have these amazing conversations and connect with so many people is because there's a framework behind the show
Right.
on how we produce it, the pre, the during, the post. So I love this because people can apply it into their content, to their writing, into their videos, right? Like into their things. Like the framework doesn't need to change for the outcome that you want to produce, and you can grab these elements and put them into your final product and make it your own.
And the value of doing that for your own business, even if you're not creating your own podcast, even if you're not doing a ton of extra marketing, but say like me, I'm going on other people's podcasts, right?
Yes.
I can drop a hat and be on a podcast live and talk and sound amazing because I have Inspire, Educate, Sell. I have question-based outline. I have all these frameworks
Yeah.
and I have stories to go with them. And I'm never going to lose them because they're part of me. And other people are always like gobsmacked because they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been talking about these things for the last, 10 years, but it doesn't matter. It's still inspiring to people. And it's so if you have a business and you want to go out and you want to leverage other people's audiences using their podcasts or their YouTube shows or whatever it is, or even if you're just doing ads, having your own frameworks that are yours. Because everyone's like, well, I do the same thing everybody else does. I don't do anything different. Like, no, everybody does something different. And
Yeah.
you can create a framework that makes you stand apart different than everybody else, even if you have the exact same business model, the exact same products and services as everybody else in your industry. Having frameworks lets you create a book, lets you create anything else that you want that puts you head and shoulders above everybody else.
That
So
is right. We go back to the 3 P's of differentiation: product, personality,
are
or processes, right? You can have a very unique product, you can have a very unique personality, or like you mentioned, the process, aka your frameworks, which I must say that you develop those as you publish. So if you're thinking, oh well, I don't have any frameworks on my own, I cannot publish. No, that is wrong. Bam, big X. You gotta start publishing, because as you speak and as you share your message and as you start doing the work, guess what? You're gonna start running across your own frameworks. That's exactly what happened to us. As we started publishing more and more, we started kind of like putting these pieces together and then realizing, whoa, we got something here. We got the publishing pyramid. Look at that. Whoa, we got something else there. We got the minimal viable content. And we started discovering all these things that now are part of the BIZBROS ecosystem. And is the things that we teach our clients, is it things that we talk about in workshops, is it things that we share here on the podcast. So don't let not having, and I'm doing air quotes here, any frameworks of your own stop you from publishing.
yeah,
Publish
and you can
and
create
use.
them. I mean, you can
Mhm.
create them out of anything, and I teach a whole workshop on frameworks. We did that in the core story bootcamp. We did a whole
Yeah.
lesson on here's how you do frameworks. It's got to be easy to visualize, and so can you draw it? Like that's number one. Can you draw it? 3 Ps. I can draw 3 Ps. I can
Yeah.
draw a number sequence. There's 3 steps to this, or 5 pillars to something, or there's all kinds of different. I have a framework called Duck Mode that I love that we use in Anna Greer's book, where you let water, you let negative comments slide off your back like water off a duck's back, and so I just draw a
Yes.
really bad duck, and people are like, what is that? But it grabs their attention, right? Because they've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And I mean, in Annie's, she helps people explore quitting alcohol. And
Mm.
she's got people who have like duck mode tattoos and stuff. Like it became a whole thing. It literally was my kids bugging me to go get ice cream in the back seat of the car. And as soon as I would say duck mode, they'd be like, "Oh, I'll forget it. Mom's never gonna shoot." That was like saying no, but for real, no.
Like the real
funny.
no. Oh, that's so good.
Anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have one that is called the pee board. So and every time we say it, we laugh like kids. So people always laugh, and then they remember what the pee board is.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what the pee board is, if you're curious right now, let us know. Send us a DM. Please send us
Is
a
it pleasure and pain?
yeah, let's
So
go.
I have a client, Damien Boudreau, who teaches car salesmen. He taught the #1 world record holder how to sell 100 cars a month. This is his book.
Oh wow.
And he does. It's all about your PP. And I mean, everybody knows, but they always remember it. Always.
Always.
Never forget pleasure and pain.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Julie, this has been such a fun conversation. We have a couple more questions, right? So one is like, what is an action point? Where's something that somebody that's thinking about the publishing, whether that's a book, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a blog, like what's something they can do today to get that started?
To get that started for themselves?
Sure.
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is decide the end. So this is another framework I have: audience, purpose, and goal. What is your goal? Why are you writing this book or creating this content? Do you want to sell a product? Do you want to lead people into a webinar? Do you want to, what is it that is going to benefit you? Are you trying to leave a legacy? Are you trying to train people how to do what you do? What is it that you want to achieve? Is it going to bring you money? Is it going to bring you fame? Is it going to bring you freedom? Then you reverse engineer and you go to purpose and you say, okay, well, we start with audience. Who's your audience? And you make a very definite, like, who am I talking to? And then for purpose, it's the purpose of the book or the purpose of the content. What is point A and what is point B? And you want to take people from point A to point B in the content or in the book. So if you can figure out your audience, purpose, and goal, then you go to your high level topics that gets you from point A to point B, and you fill in your questions for your question-based outline. You're like 90% there.
You just shared the whole secret. And then, for those that are, that don't want to do it themselves, please call Julie. Yeah, just click the link below, connect with her. Like, this is gonna rock your world.
Get her book.
Yeah, get her book. Get into her world. I think this is awesome. You just share the whole framework, like action point, and then you're gonna see people coming next week. I got my book.
My book's done. No,
you're gonna see FONZI like, I wrote the book.
It does, but it doesn't.
No, I love this.
Publishing is a whole nother world of how to get stuff done. I mean,
yeah.
So do yourself a favor and just decide that you're going to self-publish, but you're going to self-publish with somebody else doing the work. Like that's what we do, because there's so many mistakes that people make with publishing. And there's so many mistakes they make when they go and they get a traditional publisher. There's very good reasons to have a traditional publisher, but 99.9% of people writing books have no business with that, because they're going to lose all the control. They lose all the profits, and they wonder why they did it. I mean, I've got clients who come to me and they have a $500,000 advance, and they're still regretting that they went with the traditional publisher. So even if it's just, talking to somebody who does what we do and getting guidance and help, because there's so much that's different about an entrepreneurial book and about a book that's tied to a business, because you have funnel opportunities, you have upsells, you have different distribution channels that you have available to you that you just don't even know. You're like, oh, I'm just going to put it on Amazon and then I'll sell, 1 million copies. Well, if you do, then you won't get any data, you won't get email addresses, and you won't upsell anything. And like, oh, you're right. So make sure that you're talking to the right people.
Yeah, which is, by the way, Julie. So, just reach out to her. I've been behind the scenes in some of this process, and coming from a person that had no like experience or point of view in this world, right, on the book, and you've opened my eyes to the whole process, and it's very enlightening, and I feel very safe in my journey, because in the future we're probably gonna reach out, Julie, hey, what's up? Because like you said, it's all about the opportunity, right? And we've seen some of these friction points that maybe traditional routes or doing it all by yourself can cause. and it's going to hinder your ability to perform in your business and serve more people, which is, at the end of the day, you're providing these resources to help more people. So I think what you're saying is super important, relevant. Julie,
Yes.
where will you be if you did not publish?
Where would I be if I did not publish? I would probably be still writing books. I would be writing more of my own books. That's actually why we're shifting away from the ghostwriting, is so that I can write more of my own work and help people in my own way, rather than being that secret behind the curtains person.
The ghostly ghostwriter.
Yeah, the ghost. I mean, I love writing for other people because I only work with people that I really believe in their message, and I know that they have brilliance inside of them, and they just can't get it out because they have so much. It's like a log jam in their head. That's what writer's block really is it's you have so many ideas and they're just stuck there. And so I love doing that, and I love helping people. I mean, we've got one lady went from food stamps to $10 million business in 3 years. Like, it was crazy how fast that book just took off. But it only goes so far. I can only help so many people doing that, right?
Yeah,
It takes a year plus to get a really good book done that way. People think if I hire a ghostwriter, it's going to be easier. It actually is harder if you have a good ghostwriter, because they're challenging you. They're challenging you on your frameworks. They're saying, okay, well, I don't think this audience is going to understand this, or how is this going to tie to your products and services? Is this actually what you want to teach, or is it something completely different? Russell wrote 4 books with me, but we ended up publishing 2 because he would think he wanted one thing. And then, like with Expert Secrets, he literally went on Snapchat and deleted the entire manuscript on live on Snapchat. And then he called me and said, Julie, don't kill me, but I just did this thing. Because he was like, this is not the book.
Yeah.
This is not the book. This isn't Expert Secrets. This is something else that was just quick and easy to put out. And so then we spent another year and a half completely rewriting and redoing it. And Expert Secrets has made more millionaires, I believe, than anything else. Like,
well, thank God you guys did. Yes. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Where can people find you, Julie? Where can people connect with you? Send you a message, be like, I wanna learn more, I wanna buy your book, I wanna connect. Where can people go?
JulianneEason.com is my primary website. The social media channel I'm most active and actually enjoy being on is LinkedIn. So you can just look up Julianne Eason on LinkedIn. I am on other places, but I never know if I'm going to see it. Like, half of my messages disappear. I'm like, I don't know. I always see things on LinkedIn. So there. And if you want to look into publishing, Thanet House Books is our publishing house.
So awesome.
I do have one question that I've been wanting to ask for a very long time, but I didn't want to break the flow of the conversation. How did you get such cool clients?
Such cool clients? Oh my God. I manifest them. I'm like, I just want to find amazing people, and they come out of the woodwork. Honestly, they almost always come from referrals. I have this massive guilt complex that I don't do enough marketing, and I have for many, many, many years. But I teach freelancers. I do teach some ghostwriting for content people who are content creators, but they want to get into ghostwriting. I teach courses on that. And I say, you don't want to have a client base. You don't want to be chasing clients all the time. You want to have a clientele that is always coming to you and always referring you out to other people. Russell's one of my best. Like, he sends people to me all the time, and I'm so grateful for that, because I get to meet the most amazing people. But really, it's networking and talking to people, going to conferences, and just helping. Like, how can I help you make your book a reality? How can we get you out of your own head and get you out of your own way? Here, try questions. They work really great.
Oh, the questions.
That's awesome.
So good.
Thank you. This is a good reinforcement for people that, sure, of course, they need to do their whole client acquisition activities, but at the same time, focus on properly serving the people that you already are serving, and then have a way. Yeah, and then have a way for them to refer new clients to you, because at the end of the day,
levels. So, like, if people come to me wanting copy, and then all of the people who were my copywriting clients wanted books, so that was just the next level. And then they all needed to figure out how to publish. So then I learned how to publish, and then that was the next level of the next thing that I could offer them, rather than being only the copywriter. People, and this is a content show, so I'll share my other framework of content hierarchy,
Yeah.
where people can come into a company as a freelancer, and they can come in at the bottom where they're writing content and they're writing blog posts or whatever, and they might be the best writer in the world, but if they come in down there, they're always going to have to prove themselves before they'll get hired to do the copywriting, which is the second level. Right. They'll have to be like, oh, but I want to write your sales pages. And the entrepreneur will be like, oh, I don't know. It's a little bit different than writing a blog post. Right. Ghostwriting is at the top. If you come in as a ghostwriter, every single client I've ever had, if I came in at the top as a ghostwriter and I wrote the book, they wanted me to write everything else for them. Everything. Like, please, can you write my blogs? Can you write my social media? Can you? And I had to say no, because that's not what I do. But if you come in at the bottom, you have to prove your way up. If you come in at the top and you're charging, tens of thousands of dollars, if not six figures, like, you're at the top. And then you can go down, you can say, hey, do you need some help with your articles? Hey, do you need some help with those podcasts, show note pages? All of those other things you can work your way into so easily. And they're so grateful for it. It's really interesting, the perception of the value of a book.
I want to make the connection with like our service.
One
No,
second.
I'm gonna fight. Smoke the mic, Fonzie. I'm gonna fight.
This is a funny joke. It's a funny joke.
Actually, no, you cannot talk. Okay, here we go. Just muted him. Go ahead. Say the funny joke.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be that funny anymore because I said it was gonna be a funny joke. But what I was gonna say, so the song started at the bottom. Now we're here. It doesn't apply for the value ladder. You gotta start at the top, and now people down.
He's done. But no, I love this, Julie, because like we've experienced it, right? We have a lot of people that create content around our world, right? And if you come in as a social media manager or somebody that handles maybe just one platform and create these posts on Canva, right? The perception is going to be very different for us. Same thing. We come at the top with the whole platform, right? And we see, okay, what is the thing that we're doing? And then we go down. And that path has happened many, many times, right? We come in at the top and then people are like, hey, can you guys handle this and this and this? And then it's up to us to kind of decide, like, is that our lane? Like, can we really help you here or not? Or refer to people that are really, really good at what they do on those areas.
And that's the power of the book, is it puts you at the top, whether you're writing it or if you're an industry expert but you have, the same services as everybody else in the industry. If you're the one that wrote the book and you can show that you wrote the book and you actually wrote a good book, people are going to come to you over everybody else, and they're going to want you and only you to do everything for them.
Yeah.
And that's the power. That it's not just a lead magnet. It's not just somebody to get into the funnel. It's not just something to do as a free plus shipping gimmick. Like, it's legitimately thought leadership that puts you at the top of your entire industry. And if everybody else is also doing books, you better make sure yours is better, and you have to have one. Like, if you have competitors that have books, you have to have one, period. And you really have to have it be good, and it has to have a certain path that leads people to get actual results and inspires, educates, and sells, and all of the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to be at the top of your industry, if your competitor has a book, you need one, please reach out to Julie. Tell her the BIZBROS sent us, and tell her also that Fonzi's jokes are no good.
They're awesome. They're great, but it got interrupted. The timing wasn't right. It's all good.
Oh boy. Julie, thank you so much. Anything else that you want to add?
I just always love to tell people that their message matters and their business matters, and the power of words is, you can't overestimate the power of words. There's so much that you can do, and whatever you were told, a lot of those internal, like, subconscious blocks and resistance that you feel is because somebody told you weren't a writer. Somebody told you you'll never be successful. Somebody told you, and it might have been a teacher, it might have been a parent, it might have been a grandparent, it might have been a best friend. You'll always be poor was what I heard. Right. Yeah. So, like, everything I did that could possibly lead to my success, I automatically self-sabotaged because I was told and I believed that I would always be poor, which is like crazy. But that's, we form these beliefs in our childhood. And so you can do this. You can write a book. You can, be an amazing author. You can be an amazing business owner. You can have all the success you want. And if something's standing in the way, talk to yourself and find out what it is, because you can overcome that.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie. That's so awesome. Fonzie, anything else? Another joke?
Thank you, Julie. It was great. I love this. No jokes.
I know they're a joke.
No
I know they're a
jokes.
joke. All right, guys. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if Julie here helped you move one step closer towards writing your book, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Woo!
Julie. Okay, we're still live on social. This was so awesome. Thank you so much. We have a tradition. We need a selfie. We need a
Yeah.
selfie
Oh,
together.
awesome.
Yeah. So here we go. We're gonna be zoom. All right, hold on.
Let's see. Wait.
All right. Oh yeah, we gotta write the book. All right. Yeah, put it up.
Yeah,
put it up.
In the middle. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no, it froze. Oh no.
There. Okay,
Wait.
come back, Julie. Come back.
It was frozen. There we
All
go.
right, 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Sweet. Awesome. All right, social media. We will see you on Wednesday. Take care.
Yes.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Julie.